Hey, Jason.
Whoa, we're
Hey,
jumping right into it.
Yeah, we jumped right into this. Hey, Jason, how you doing today?
I've still got a concussion from last week, but I'm gonna give you my best.
So what did he do? You cut your finger?
No, I was at a hardware store. I had a
Wow.
bunch of stuff fall on my head while I was looking at something on the bottom shelf, just out of the blue. Just it sucks, man. The concussion's the worst part.
So what happened? Did actually something fall over on your head?
Yeah, a pile of, those big, heavy outdoor wooden brooms.
Uh-huh.
A pile of those fell on my head. They weren't secured at the top. So yeah, I had to rush off to the ER and get stitches. And then I'm dealing with the first concussion of my life, which sucks.
Well, here's the good news. You probably thought all your music endeavors would make you rich, but it's the hardware store now that's going to make you rich.
I've always wanted my own hardware store.
So how much are you going to sue them for?
I got to get the quote from the plastic surgeon because, I'm a bit worried about appearances like this. And, they had to cut my hair too. I don't have much hair to cut. So.
Wow. So the concussion, so were you knocked out?
No. And I've never had a concussion. It didn't even cross my mind that I would get one. But the day after started to feel quite fuzzy, and I thought maybe it was just bruising, but we're a week later, man. And I haven't coded at all in a week, which, I'm SubmitHub's only coder. So that's not good. And thinking is difficult. So let's see how I do.
Well, it seems like you're a pretty smart guy. And just let me start off and say, Jason, I think SubmitHub is a genius platform. I really do. And especially for some of the listeners, if you're an artist, SubmitHub is absolutely the go-to place to connect with curators. I have been blogging for a long time, and I know how important blogs it is for artists. Now we'll get that to in a second, like how important blogs are today. But as far as blogs, playlists, YouTube channels, TikTok influencers, this is a place for artists to truly connect to those types of people. And honestly, your platform is a game changer. It made a huge difference for bloggers like myself, where, as you said, that you started this blog because you were overwhelmed by emails. Do you know how many emails that I get as a blogger? It's maybe people don't believe us. It's maybe 10 emails every 15 seconds.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. And listen, the fact is that you built this. You're a blogger yourself. You built this because you were overwhelmed by emails. I get it. And this is how you started this platform. Now, let me ask you this. Where did you learn coding? Were you always a coder?
I thought you were going to ask me how many emails I get now.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it's probably double.
No, on Indie Shuffle, I average about 3 emails a week.
Wow. Is it because it's all going to SubmitHub?
So, Dean, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. You can email MailChimp and all of these other mailing lists, and you can tell them to blacklist your email address.
Really?
Yeah, just in case you're curious, and then you automatically get rid of all the mailing list people. Obviously, for any mailing lists I want, I use a different email address. But for my Indie Shuffle email address, I emailed MailChimp, Sendinblue, SendGrid, whatever all the main mailing list companies are, and I just said, put this email on your blacklist. And now, whenever someone fires off an email with me as part of their list, I actually don't get it. So. Seriously, 1 or 2 emails a week.
Well, Jason, here's the thing with me. It's I'm afraid of missing an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's probably I'm not a hoarder at all, but there's definitely, my email inbox has to be more manageable. I mean, for instance, like in my inbox, I mean, listen, I mean, the last, I would probably say, 108, Holix promo. Hello, Dean. We have a new album from Norwegian melodic death metal band, John Asher, Asher Media, Canadian, this is metal emails. LPR agency, rhythmic and hypnotizing new single. This was all within like a couple seconds.
But those are all probably mailing lists, right?
Yes,
They're
yes.
very unlikely to be personalized.
Correct.
Do you check them all?
Not even close.
Yeah, I couldn't.
So where did you learn coding?
Okay, back to the coding. So I started Indie Shuffle in 2008-ish. And part of it was building a website myself. And I think for many music bloggers back in the day, it was the same thing, right? You had a passion for sharing music, you needed a platform to do that. And so for me, I had to build a blog. I started on WordPress. And you've got your WordPress website set up. And next thing you know, you want a widget in the sidebar that shows you the 10 most popular songs that you've published in the last month. So then you go and you search WordPress for their plugins and you add that widget, but it doesn't look good and you want to get a little thumbnail. So you Google, how do I add a thumbnail to this widget? And then someone's got a snippet of code and you paste that in and your website crashes. So then you go back and you poke around a bit more and you figure out where you went wrong. And at the end of the day, that sort of trial and error is the way that I taught myself to code. So, and that just compounded, that was 2008, it's now 2022. And up until 2013, I was just tinkering, but that was still 5 years of tinkering, 5-10 hours a week of tweaking websites, changing border colors, making things bigger. And then I started working with other developers who, the best example was I wanted a music player that kept playing while you navigated around Indie Shuffle. And only one other website in the world had that. It was called Hype Machine. They had this magic thing where you could click around and the song didn't stop. SoundCloud didn't get that until 2014. And here I am in 2010 trying to figure out how to do that. So I went on it was like Upwork or Fiverr, one of those. I found a guy who knew how to do JavaScript and I gave him the prompt. So he coded it. And a few years later, when I started to do this stuff full time, I just went into his code and started to reverse engineer. You kind of read it and you go, okay, what if I change this or do that? Oh, that's how that works. So it slowly built over time, but it was always centered around music platforms. And so by the time 2015 rolled around and I was coding SubmitHub, I was able to take 7-8 years of experience that kind of led to that moment. And whipping up the initial version of SubmitHub took me 3 months. Yeah, it was 3 months of pretty fervent coding. I didn't have a girlfriend, wasn't married, didn't have kids.
Sorry.
And it was like, it was every day I was coding. And so, 3 months, initial version of SubmitHub. And I haven't really slowed down too much. I mean, now I've got 2 kids, a wife, and so, okay, I've slowed down a lot.
So you're basically coding with self-taught.
100%.
Now let me ask you this. I mean, SubmitHub has grown exponentially, right? I mean, it's grown in popularity, it's grown in submissions. I mean, as a blogger on SubmitHub, I've seen, like, I forget how long I've been on there for, but
you've had 42,000 submissions.
How many submissions?
42,000.
42,000. Okay.
I think.
Now,
that's a lot.
It is. Is that 42,000 submissions a day?
No, you personally.
Oh, I have 42,000. Oh, got it.
You've had 42,000.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know why I get so much.
Well, one is you've been on there for a long time. The other one's you're in this really good bloggers program and you actually write high quality content on your blog, which is, I think, something that people are still keen on to this day. So,
let's talk about blogs for a second. I read, by the way, it was last Sunday, I was driving around and I know we were supposed to be talk last Monday, but I was listening to some of your podcasts, which I really enjoyed. And
Good.
you mentioned that as a blogger, that blogs were pretty much cool in, I mean, from like the 2000s to 2000, maybe like 15, 16. And, first of all, that's how, by the way, Jason, just to know my background, that's kind of how I got into the business. And I was actually, Kings of A&R was the first blog before blogs. I came back, I would probably say, you're like, wait, let me.
That's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, long time.
90s?
90s. You got it.
You started in the 90s, because I know Pitchfork launched in like 99 or 98.
I was right around in that 98, 99 category. This is before Billboard, I think, was online.
Wow.
So first, we were the first music blog, I think, truly in existence. It was another site that I actually kind of copied. That's no longer online. But anyway, as you mentioned, the blogs, do they still have influence? And you're like, not like they used to. And I would say, what does have influence today?
Nothing.
and you also said that Google actually killed off everything that's unique and independent.
And
right?
Facebook too. But yeah, Google did,
Facebook.
And Spotify. Yeah.
So my question is, as you said, okay, blogs were killed off. As far as killed off, no, they exist, but we're talking about what are critical mass drivers. I think that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, blogs were tipping points. They
could do it.
They could
really
do it.
Could push someone from nothing to headlining Coachella within a year.
Right. So today, is there one single outlet that is a tipping point anymore?
No. It's really difficult. And I think I don't have the answer to that. If I did, I'd probably be pushing that channel and doing it. I think the internet has become so crowded with noise, and so many artists have learned to utilize and leverage that. I mean, if you go back to 2008, 9, 10, all the way up to 14, the majority of musicians themselves weren't uploading songs for distribution, right? Distributors didn't exist. SoundCloud was maybe it. There wasn't the
Jason, did we lose Jason? Did we lose Jason?
La 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 la. All right.
Okay. So
okay, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
What has replaced it? Or what was the question?
What has replaced the blogs?
Is there a way to do that? No. So I think I was making the point that the internet has become so noisy today that it's next to impossible to really stand out. And even when you do have these standout moments, you get swallowed up so quickly. I was on your website and I saw that you've got a quote from a band called Freedom Fry on there. And this is a band that's leveraged SubmitHub a lot over the years, right? And now they're up to a couple million monthly listeners. And that's not necessarily because of SubmitHub, but they've been persistent over the last 5 years.
Without a doubt.
The other thing they do, and this, more than SubmitHub, they have a song, like I've never seen such a prolific band. Once every 2 weeks, once every month, they're releasing a new single consistently for 5 years now. Maybe it's because they live together. Well, they're married, but they're making so much music, and a lot of it I'm not that into, but sometimes I am, and we blog that, and they're just hammering every single one through. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if you go into this hoping that you'll be, the Lana Del Rey or Kid Cudi or Two Door Cinema Club or Foles or whatever of that golden era of blogging, where a couple good songs had you blow up and become a household name, it's not going to happen today.
Right.
There are so few artists who have managed to pull that off. The one popping into my head as one of the more recent is Billie Eilish, and it's already been a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Who else since then? I mean, there's like some dudes with dreadlocks, the Island Boys. They had a little bit of it's so hard. And so So I don't think that there is a magic bullet to do it anymore. And 10 years ago, there was. If you knew the right publicist, they could get you on 50 music blogs, on Pitchfork, in Rolling Stone, on Spin, and boom, you're headlining Glastonbury. You know, it's next to impossible to pull that off now. Let alone the fact that when these festivals roll around, you are actually still competing with all of these artists who made it big during blogging. And they're still releasing music, and most of it's pretty good, and they've got major label backing.
Now, you know, Jason, you mentioned Hype Machine and as being really influential. I remember Hype Machine. I never really thought Hype Machine was a good name because of hype. You know, I always kind of thought Buzz was better than hype. But
Buzz Machine.
Yeah, Buzz Machine. But what's honestly is I was actually, you know, my blog was one of the pioneers, and I mean, my blog has pushed countless number of artists into the major label world, and and it had influence, but I was never really part of the hype crew. And what's funny is they never listed my blog, and I think because they never viewed my blog as being independent, they actually thought somehow I was part of some type of major label arm.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Know what I mean? So
I know they were very, very picky, and they would never clarify why they had made a decision one way or the other. Although I suppose we do a bit of the same on SubmitHub.
Right. Yeah. It was just, you know, listen, most of the blogs that were on hype, I never even heard of. I mean, it was like it was like an aggregate of blogs that I was not sure. I mean, I heard of some, of course, but what's interesting is, so yeah, I remember Hype Machine, and they made a splash. And I think with Hype Machine in itself, it wasn't necessarily the blogs that were popular on Hype Machine. I think it was Hype Machine putting it out, the press, that they were aggregating somehow this curated information that they were kind of picking some of the next big hot artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, Hype Machine did a really good job of filtering through the noise, and they became really important for A&R teams at major labels who would, I know of multiple teams who would sit down every Friday to have a meeting to listen through what was on the popular chart and discuss whether they could book anyone. So Hype Machine themselves didn't start doing anything editorial until after they had started to descend. And everything was just based on how many blogs were writing about a specific artist. So, you know, as a blogger, we figured out how to game their system so that we were almost always, you know, #1 on the popular chart in terms of who blogged it. But Hype Machine was incredibly useful for filtering through that noise. They were that A&R filter. And the other thing they had going for them is that Spotify didn't exist. YouTube Music didn't exist. Apple Music didn't exist. Deezer didn't exist. People were still downloading MP3s, downloading albums on torrents, and Hype Machine and Indie Shuffle saw immense amounts of traffic because we were streaming services. We were what people listened to for their music. And today, music blogs have lost a lot of that traffic because if I'm paying Spotify $10 a month, I'm going to use it. And if I want to listen to music, I'm going to go to Spotify and do it. So it's clunky these days for the average consumer to try hop on a music blog and filter through it for songs. They're not going to do that. It's not a fun experience. I just want to sit here, hit play, and then scroll through my Instagram feed, right? It's a different landscape. And that's why I say, you know, blogs don't have the traction that they did, but so much doesn't, because today it's all this, you know, TikTok, right? We're experimenting a lot with how we can help expose artists on TikTok and Instagram. And the conclusion we've come to is that it's not going to help you pick up a bunch of listeners. That's it. You should not use influencer submissions on SubmitHub if your goal is to find new fans. It's just not, believe it or not, it's not going to work. There's only 2 reasons you do it. #1, to try and fill up your feed. I don't know if you've noticed, but on TikTok and Instagram, you can open up a song and see all the videos associated with it, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So one thing you can do is basically pay to just fill that up so you don't look like, no one's paying attention to the
Right.
song.
Looks
Sort
like
of
you
a
have the
fake
fans.
make it. And a lot of major labels do that, right? They'll pump a bunch of money into getting 200 videos into that feed so that if anyone opens up this artist, they don't look like they're falling flat, at least looks like they're buzzing. But that doesn't actually take off in any way. So that's one strategy you can use. And the other one is it is useful to get individuals to create content for you. So I'm paying people essentially to make mini music videos to my song. And those aren't going to go viral on TikTok or Instagram, but where they're useful is I can now actually share that with my fan base and try to keep them engaged. Wow, what a tangent I just went on. But it all comes back to your question of how do you make it these days? Can anyone sort of pop out the way that a music blog used to do it? And generally speaking, the answer is no. I mean, I'd love to get a number of publicists to weigh in on that, because I'm sure they'd have interesting perspectives. But my guess is that the majority of them would say it's just about persistence. You just got to be consistent in your approach, keep pushing it, and try for that freedom fry. My brain is fried. That freedom fry.
Well,
approach.
Jason. Well, I agree. And here's the thing, that as TikTok, as it grew in popularity, do you have a tough time keeping the quality of artists the same? Because generally speaking, when a platform kind of introduces itself out to the marketplace, it wants to have new, hip music. Entertainment is built on new, hip, and modern. I mean, nothing against the 70-year-old guy, with a flute. I'm not against that, because he has a passion. But I mean, let's be practical here. I mean, he's not going to probably grace the cover of I don't know. I'm not going to get myself into trouble, but my
Spin magazine, there it is, right behind you.
Spin magazine. There you go.
Yeah.
So how do you? My point is, as the platform grows, submissions grow, popularity, do you have a hard time keeping quality?
Well, we don't get involved in the quality, but I would say overall, as a curator myself, so with Indie Shuffle, we have done 10,000, well, tens of thousands of reviews. I don't know how many I've done. Probably a similar number to you. I would say by and large, the quality consistently goes up, because access to tools is becoming easier and easier. And the understanding of those tools is easier and easier. I can't remember the last time I got a submission where it sounded like it was recorded on an iPhone. In fact, today you can record stuff on an iPhone and it sounds good. So
right, it's true.
I would say that the difficulty is actually that the quality of music is on average really good. The average is really good. And a lot of artists don't understand that to stand out on a platform like SubmitHub, or just in general, being good is not it. You have to be incredible. You have to be in the top 2%. You have to consistently pull off songs that just make people click somehow. You probably have to have something interesting going on with your style, your personality, whatever, that extra art that Prince or Elton John or whomever had. It's difficult, and I don't think it's because the quality is going down. I would actually say that over the years the quality has been going up, and that makes it harder. I don't know if you've had a similar experience.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I can't say. It's tough for me to say. I just, with SubmitHub, I just put my genres in that I'm looking for, which is kind of like electro, indie rock, chill, stuff that I would listen to, of course. And I would probably say that for the most part, the quality has remained consistent and it delivers exactly what I signed up for. Now, as far as like, by the way, here's another thing I like about SubmitHub for artists. Why I think it's a game-changing platform, because you're kind of allowing artists to do the dirty work. I mean, if an artist an artist should be his own PR. I think it's an artist just taking money and handing it over to the PR. I think it's kind of lazy. I think it's good, but I think it's laziness. I mean, the artist should live the life of a PR agent for at least some time to understand what they're dealing with and what the world is like. And SubmitHub gives that artist a brief kind of boot camp of playing the middleman of like the so-called label and media outlets. They get to see the rejection. They get to see, not for us, not for me. We don't like what we're hearing. It's important for the artist to hear that, because this is, guys, the real world. And that's what
many do not realize that.
Well, guess what? It's a wake-up call, because
I'd love to put you on our customer support for a couple days.
Okay, well, it's a wake-up call. And I want to tell you, if you can't handle SubmitHub, then you're not going to handle the artist field. If you can't handle rejection, like, just cut your losses early, because in any business, it's no, 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 and you get a couple of yeses. But give me, like, an artist has a budget, right? I mean, they record a record. And listen, an artist has worked hard. Okay, they develop their craft. They work with songwriters. They got their voice in tip-top shape. It's like they make a record, they want to promote it. Okay, how much money should they set aside for SubmitHub, conservatively speaking?
$20.
That's it.
So when an artist first approaches SubmitHub, I think a good approach is to start small, just to get a taste for it. I think a lot of artists who walk away with missed expectations are the ones who actually jump in and spend $200 off the bat. You're casting your net quite wide, and you're going to get a lot of rejection up front. And I think I've seen that artists who tend to have more success with the platform actually start out a lot smaller. So hone in on your genre, and then identify curators who really, really, really align with the type of stuff you do. And rather than casting your net out to 100 of them, choose 10 who super duper align with your ethos, your style. It looks like there's going to be a good shot, and then hope for 20 or 30% of them to enjoy your song enough to share it. But I think starting small, generally, as an artist approaching SubmitHub, is a good idea, because otherwise you're just rushing into something without fully understanding it. There's a learning curve to it as well, right?
Got it. So you're saying start small until you get the feel for it, and then as you build relationships through your platform, your budget can get bigger. Now,
there's a really good podcast that came out about a year ago with a guy named James, who runs rock metal something on SubmitHub, and an artist named Ascension Everest, and they discussed this strategy. Both of them have done submissions, and they discussed this strategy, and it actually made a lot of sense to me, where they start really small and hyper focused, and then grow from there once they've got an idea of how the song is being received, who might be interested in it, and then they expand. But with that small, initial $20 investment, you can learn a lot about whether this is the right song, whether you're targeting the right people, and hopefully you can build some relationships, so that by the time you're freedom fry, you come back for your 40th single that you're submitting through SubmitHub, anyone who receives it goes, I know exactly who this is and what I'm about to dive into. Let's go.
I want to tell you, it's like when I go to SubmitHub, what I do is I check it maybe three. And by the way, when you're running Indie Shuffle, are you the blogger? Are you putting everything in Indie Shuffle as well?
So there are three of us choosing the editorial content for Indie Shuffle: myself, Dylan, and Jamie, and the three of us also all work on SubmitHub.
Okay. But you do personally work on Indie Shuffle?
Yeah, totally. Okay. We do have a contractor who actually writes a lot of the content for us, but we're choosing those songs. So I am the one every day. Myself and Jamie primarily are the ones going through Indie Shuffle's submissions every day.
By the way, that's great to know, because like Kings of A&R, like I am the main blogger, and I had other people contribute over the course of the years, but it's something that I love doing every morning because it keeps my head in the business. It keeps me knowing exactly what's going on. Like the minute I feel that you're removed from like the core of, I don't care how much money you're making, I don't care how much your responsibility grows in life, but if you remove yourself from that bottom on the street thing, you've completely removed yourself from the actual business. That's my opinion.
I think that's why you see me in the chat rooms so much on SubmitHub. That's actually one of the reasons I made the chat rooms. Was it does give me an opportunity to be front facing with everyone to hear their gripes and communicate with them. And then of course, listening to and responding to submissions is an important way of keeping grounded.
But what you were talking about in SubmitHub was familiarity, and that's what I do. So when I log on to SubmitHub, the first thing that I do, especially if I'm in one of those days where I don't really have time I don't have that hour block to like, okay, let me just spend an hour and just pinpoint. What I'll do is I'll look for artists that have sent me submissions in the past. So I'll go for the first 3 pages and I'm like, oh yeah, we featured this one before. And it's like, accept. Oh yeah. So as you say, it's a relationship with them. And sometimes I'll accept them without even listening to the song because I know
That's brave.
but it's not based on just pure blind faith. It's based on that the previous stuff was really good. And the way I submit an artist is it's not just about the latest song, it's about their overall portfolio, if that makes any sense. That's the way, by the way, Kings of A&R was built. It was I had to like the track, but it was more than that. So let me ask you this. Now, okay, you said, you basically said that come in with a smaller budget, get the feel, grow, your budget can grow as you understand the platform. So now, feedback. Artists can actually get feedback from bloggers and influencers on your platform. Now, I don't normally give feedback because there's a reason why. Generally, my understanding is in life, people don't like criticism.
Generally true, yeah.
So whether it's true, false, or indifference, it's usually met with a middle finger. So do you get a lot of bloggers giving feedback on tracks?
99.9%.
So I'm the few that will not do that.
Very much so true. Yeah.
Okay.
Look, feedback's a really important part of SubmitHub. And just before I received my concussion, for anyone who's wondering what this is about, we rolled out a major update to SubmitHub around feedback. And the goal with this was to try and make feedback more valuable for artists. And a lot of that pivots around what you've just said, that many artists don't want specific critique of their work. So the major change that we've done is to actually ask them up front, do you want critique or do you want the curators to be gentle? If you want critique, we'll ask them to be honest, and we allow the artist to provide a prompt. For example, what do you think of the lyrics, or what do you think of the vocals, or how's the mix? And we warn them up front that the feedback you get is going to be opinionated and you might not agree with it. If you choose the gentle option, we say, cool, well, they're going to be gentle with you when they give their feedback. We'll still ask them to prove that they listened to the song. So in our feedback, we want curators to at least say something that gives evidence that they listened. So I like the guitar solo. And then the second part is why you're declining. So either you're going to say, I like the guitar solo, but overall this song feels quite dated. Or if you want to be gentle, you could say, I really like the guitar solo, but we're trying to focus on things that are a bit more modern. So it's a subtlety to the way you present it. But I think that if you ask the artist up front whether they want criticism or not, it at least sets the expectation so that when they do get that criticism, it's not a surprise, and you kind of signed up for it. So what we found in the week and a half since launching this, and I've got a big write-up on SubmitHub under submithub.com/stories about this. What we found is that 65% of artists are opting for the specific feedback. They want people to critique them. And the phrase we actually use is, do you have tough skin? If so, choose this option. Then the other 35% is split fairly evenly between artists who want curators to just go easy on them, and actually a third option where they say, I don't want any feedback, just listen for 90 seconds at least. So it's
or maybe
in some ways surprising.
Or maybe a button, if you want your ego killed, press here.
Yeah, but it is kind of like that, and we're finding that a lot more artists are into it. And you know, one of the big issues we've been dealing with over the years is that you'll have some artists say, man, the feedback on SubmitHub is super duper vague. These guys, they all say they love the song, but it's not a good fit for them. Come on. And on the other side, you get artists who say, dude, don't tell me anything about my song. Just tell me it's not a good fit. I don't want to hear anything specific. So we've been struggling for years to balance these two sets of expectations. And I do hope that this change that we made a week and a half ago,
and that was, and by the way, and that was me, Jason. I was more or less, I would tell the artist that it's not a bad song, it's just not the right fit. And I didn't want to get any, I didn't want to get anything more into that because it would have been a disservice to the artist. But as you said, I definitely had artists come to me and say, wow, Dean, the reviews on SubmitHub, I mean, some of these critics, they just killed it. They killed me. And I'll look at and I'm like, well, that's okay. I mean, listen, I quickly tell artists, do you know most artists have more haters than they do lovers? And there's nothing wrong with getting people to I mean, look at that. Who was that artist that sang that song, Dance Monkey? She was from Australia. Tones and I.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. But by the way, you know what's crazy is this shows you how fragmented we are, because you say you're not familiar with the song Dance Monkey by Tones and I, Australia. This song was like the second biggest song in 2019 behind Lewis Capaldi's Someone You Loved. I mean, it was like one of the fastest growing songs that surpassed, like, have you heard of Lewis Capaldi?
No.
Okay.
There you go. I think you just proved your point. Yeah.
It did. It proved my point. By the way, that's not uncommon, but here's the thing. It can kill your ego. Let me ask you this. Do you think Will Smith could handle SubmitHub?
Sure. I think any celebrity's used to a good amount of haters out there.
Well, do you hear what happened to Will Smith?
I think he slapped Chris Rock.
Right. Because he couldn't take a joke, right? Is that it?
I think, I don't know what's going on with his wife, but has she got cancer or something?
No, you know what it was. I know she had actually
hair.
Yeah, she doesn't have a terminally ill disease. It is like, I forget what the medical condition is caused, but it was.
The Oscars wanted something noteworthy and they got it. So in some ways, maybe Will Smith was actually just helping, and it was all set up.
So Jason, give me like 5 SubmitHub tips. Like, let's start with a small budget. 2.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. SubmitHub's not going to be the one thing that breaks you. As an artist these days, you've got to take a multifaceted approach to growing your fan base. And everyone starts out small. You can't expect to blow up overnight. But SubmitHub is just one tool in a toolkit. There are many other ways to do it. And SubmitHub definitely doesn't work for everyone. It's difficult on there, especially when you consider how many artists you're competing against. So my first 2 suggestions are not strong business cases, but smaller budget, more focused. Second, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Explore things like Instagram advertising. Definitely pick up your social media game. You got to be on TikTok, Instagram, do all of these things. But actually, most importantly, when it comes to those, is do the things that you're comfortable doing. Don't force yourself to do TikTok if you don't care about TikTok. Don't force yourself to do Instagram if you don't. Because you're not going to care about your fan base there either. It's not where you want to be. So that's one thing. Spread out your eggs.
Okay. Now, Jason, you mentioned. Go on.
Go. No.
Okay.
That's 2.
Okay. Yeah. Let's hear 3, 4, and 5.
Geez, man. I mean, you're putting me on the spot, so I have to just think these through.
Well, I heard this stuff. I heard this stuff before, so I just want to see if you remember this stuff. I heard you mention 5 tips. I think I did.
Oh, I've got a concussion, so I'm going to give you 5 new tips.
Okay. Well, no, that's good. No, but first of all, I mean, you're doing great. What about being focused? Don't spread. What about being focused as an artist? Like when you go to SubmitHub, it could be overwhelming, but I mean, what about?
Right. So honing in on your genre is an important one, and trying to find curators who like that. So there's some things that you can flip through pretty easily on SubmitHub to in a way level up the success rate quite quickly. So one is to focus on people who, after you've selected your genres, have a genre match score of 8 of 10 or higher. Mm-hmm. So the genre match score is something that, I wrote a little formula behind the scenes that basically looks at Kings and A&Rs, enabled genres, your approval rates within each genre, and how they compare to your other genres. So I can figure out which ones you enjoy more than others. And then I compare you to all the other curators who like that genre too. And it's a pretty complex thing I managed to write. I must have been super stoned or something, but I got it. I got through it. It was like a number of weighted factors to go into, and I nailed it, I think. But what comes out is a genre match score. And the genre match is, if it's above 8 out of 10, it means that they really tend to focus on that genre more than their others. The second piece to look at is what their actual approval rate is. So now let's say you're submitting to Indie Shuffle. I think we have an approval rate of about 3%. But in some genres, we might have an approval rate of 6%. The signal that sends to the genre match score is that we actually like that genre more than any of the other genres we have enabled. And so there's a pretty strong genre fit. But the secondary piece that's important there is that we only have a 6% approval rate. So you might come along and compare us to Kings of A&R, who, making up your percentages here, but you've got a 15% average, but only a 10% in this genre. Your 10% is actually better than my 6%. So I factor that into the genre match score. But what I'm saying here is that genre match, like 2 things to look at: genre match score and approval rate. So if you try to target 20 blogs who have an average approval rate of 2%, chances are all 20 of them will reject you. So what we like to do is that we suggest that artists and publicists sort of mix up their bag a little bit, almost like you're betting on a horse race. Mm-hmm. You put a little bit of money on the surefire bets. So look at, if you've got 20 people you're going for, maybe target 10 of them who have, or even 15 of them who have this sort of 10 to 30% approval range. What that means is that in that 15, you might walk away with 4, 5, 6 approvals, right?
Right.
Then you can take your long shots, go for, the Indie Shuffles, the Kings of A&R, all these old school established blogs who have super, super duper critical taste, and maybe they only have a 2 or 3% approval rate, and put them on the side. So that's kind of the people who are long shots. There's a bigger payoff, but you've set your expectations that they're not going to do as well. So I suppose tip number 3 there, maybe that was 3, 4, and 5. But you're looking at genre match and approval rates. And if you can combine both of those, you can get a bit of a mixed bag to your submission that ends up getting you some positive results. And maybe you'll get 1 or 2 of those long shots as well.
Okay, so we have 1, start with a smaller budget. What was the second one? Second tip.
Oh, Dean, why are you doing this to me, man?
I know. I just want to see how well you're doing with by the way, you're doing great. I understand having a concussion. It could definitely we had approval, we had genre match and approval rate. Okay.
No, man, there was another one, but those were the other ones.
Okay. Well, I think people got this by now. Now, here's the thing I want to know. Why is I'm looking at my.
It's so frustrating how my brain just sort of shuts down. Anyway.
So my response, my submission, my statistics seem like it's similar to indie blog, but let me ask you this. Why, when it comes to, I'm a little upset here, Jason. Why is my influential rating like 7 out of 10?
Well, that means that you're more influential than 70% of the other curators. on
Okay,
SubmitHub.
okay, because see, I didn't realize not only does SubmitHub kill the artist ego, but it kills the blogger's ego. I'm joking with you. I'm joking. I'm joking with
I
you.
don't know.
Okay, great. I'm joking. So, all right.
Sorry.
Now,
I've just skewed it also that Indie Shuffle's a 10 out of 10 and everything less is just
but you own the
That's what it is.
platform. There could be some
Yeah.
biasness, all right? You've
Thank
earned
you.
you've earned that. Now, now I'm just going to just again touch on this 1 second. SubmitHub is rather pretty inexpensive for an artist that can open up their world to a full of opportunities. I mean, think about this. Think about this. I'll give you.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That was the other one.
Right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Sorry.
But here's SubmitHub for an artist can open up a world full of opportunities. Literally, here's an example. An artist goes on SubmitHub and they submit to Kings of A&R. And I put them on Kings, do a nice feature, do out an email blast, put them on the socials. And the artist says to me, wow, Dean, because I was featured on your site, I landed on Spotify's Fresh Finds.
Oh, nice.
And then you have another artist says the same thing, Fresh Finds. And then what happened is they have been into this Spotify Fresh Finds rhythm. By the way, this is countless artists that I featured that will get on Spotify Fresh Find. That's just one of many examples. So think about this. Fresh Finds could land in the New Music Friday. So because you submitted to one blog through SubmitHub, it has introduced you to a major Spotify editorial playlist that can open up new windows. It started with SubmitHub to a blog to Spotify. Is it the be all end all? No, of course not, but there's never be all end all in life. Here is another thing that I think I heard you mention, Jason. You mentioned that you kind of felt bad for artists because you've heard that they had to spend money on everything. I mean, think about this. They got to spend money on recording, they got to spend money on, and then when it comes to promotion, they got to spend money. And I mentioned that you felt bad a little bit. But let me tell you something. And I thought about this when you said this. The artist today has become the label. The artist for a long time wanted major labels to disappear and go away. I mean, I was in the business. I consulted for labels. I worked at labels. Artists, they like dream. They went to bed every night praying to God, please let there be a demise of the major labels, for they are bad, wicked men, and they destroy artists. And I can't necessarily say that was all. I can't say that's false, but I can't say it's all true. So an artist now today is the label. So that means the artist foots the bill like a label. So when I'm at labels, these are the bills the labels footed. They paid for a PR guy, several $1,000s a month, label, while paying for an in-house PR person. So a label was paying a salary for in-house PR and also at times paid for an outside independent PR. Could be, who knows, $12,000, $15,000 a month between salary and in-house. Guess what? They paid for placement companies. They paid for photographers. You know how much photographers would charge labels? $25K a photo shoot. Imagine a photographer billing a label $25,000 for a crappy photo shoot. Producers would charge $50,000 to $300,000 per album. Okay. Let's not forget they would pay a video promo guy. Let's not forget labels would have web promo and tour support. So guess what? A label would spend at least $500,000 for a new artist, basically paying everyone from their mom, their son to their daughter. So an artist cannot be shocked when they have to put out and are being a label and put out a little bit of money. Am I right or am I wrong?
Both.
Wow. Let's start with the wrong part.
Well, I think those numbers are perhaps representative of what major labels will pump into some of their larger artists. I have a few friends who are signed to major labels and got signed in 2013, 2014. And the forwards that they would get were more around $45,000 a year in salary, plus all their expenses covered. And that's for Universal Music Group, pretty major label. The other one to keep in mind is that I guess the idea of a label as the business is that you're going to use your A&R resources to sign bands that are a pretty good bet. In many ways, you're a stock trader, right? Mm-hmm. You tend to look for artists that have some history. It's very rare that I think a label would put that much money behind a brand new artist, right? They're going to look for someone who has some traction, and you're going to want to invest in them, hoping that you'll get a return on your investment. So I think in some ways it's a slight apples to oranges comparison, but you're not wrong that today artists themselves are actually a label in and of themselves. They have all that power, which means there's 100% potential upside on their work, right?
Right.
The risk is now solely with them. So it becomes a question of how much money you're going to spend. And unfortunately, for many artists, it still is a world where those who spend the most money see the most success. There is an artist on SubmitHub named something. Oh man, I can't remember. There's an artist on SubmitHub who has definitely put hundreds of thousands of dollars into promoting themselves, not just on SubmitHub, but elsewhere.
Sure.
And you can see that they spent that much money up front. And for the first many years of that campaign, I don't think they were making that money back. Another one might be Dax.
Can you tell me, is this I mean, I actually may know that artist who you're referring to, who submitted to me. Can you name them or can't you?
Yeah, sure. Look, some of these artists, they basically cast their net so wide.
Sure.
They just chuck a bunch of money behind it.
Yeah, he's right. This artist.
Dax is one of them.
Okay.
He puts tons of money behind the completely wrong genres. He's a hip hop artist, and he'll show up on all the indie rock ones, everything like that, because he's trying to
right.
This guy, who's the other one I'm thinking of? Kid Travis. Was the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
Kid Travis is another example of someone just casting their net really wide. They're spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars promoting themselves across multiple different platforms with the hope that, you know, with a 5% success rate, if you spend that much money, you're going to fake it until you make it. And at that point, your following looks so good and your engagement is so good that you end up getting booked to play all of these major festivals because you're going to pull an audience. So Kid Travis today is at 2.8 million monthly listeners. That's great. But I think part of the strategy on his side is he wasn't coming in and spending $20. He's spending at least $1,000 on every submission that he does. And he's been doing that for years now, multiple songs a year, possibly even one a month. And these guys keep doing it. Dax is another one I know. Whoever's behind their team, if they're spending $1,000 per single on SubmitHub, you can bet your buttons they're also out there paying radio stations, which obviously you're not supposed to do, but they're, you know, people do it. They're pushing it from every angle that they can because who knows? I mean, you really have to put that investment in.
So Jason,
so this all does come back to your point that the major labels today will sink $500K into a very promising act.
So Jason, where do you see SubmitHub going? Like, I mean,
Jeez.
where do you see it going?
Right now, I don't see anything. It's all just a little blurry in my vision. My brain's breaking down on that question.
Okay, that's all right. So,
Look,
Jason,
Dean, I don't have a long-term plan here, right? One thing I think I've mentioned on other podcasts is that if it's about music discovery and introducing artists to people who will connect with their music, it's important to keep in mind at what stage of a person's life they're most receptive to discovering new music. And for the broader population, that's often between the age of 18 to 25. If I reflect back on where I sort of made some of my favorite acts and learned the most, it would go back to that age. And so one of the elements that's important with the future of SubmitHub is to keep an eye on where that demographic is discovering music. Because if we can tap into that and allow artists to connect with them, we're going to be in a better position to actually make a useful product that helps people. I mean, that's really it. And so that's why we've poured so much time into TikTok and Instagram, because right now this is where people are consuming music, at least within that demographic. I'm still not convinced that that's where they're actually forming connections with artists. But
now,
part of
Jason,
the future of SubmitHub is making sure that we are still relevant in that. So,
right.
I mean, Hype
Well,
Machine
listen,
perhaps
I
lost
think
their relevancy because they were stuck in the blog
right.
sphere, couldn't pivot out.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And listen, I think as long as you have TikTok, which is a game changer, as long as there's always going to be bloggers, creators, influencers, people that write. So yes, we have these major platforms, big tech killed everything, but you're still going to have independent people that talk about music, and that's going to be important for the artist. So I think, like, as far as SubmitHub, there's always going to be a place. And you know what? And what's amazing, right, Jason? You never know which way the pendulum's going to swing in the world. You
Not a clue.
never know. But let me
Not
ask
a
you
clue.
this: TikTok, they launched a new free distribution service,
Right.
called SoundOn.
Yes.
So is that the end? Because if you go on SubmitHub, you'll see the distributor that the artist submitted through, whether it's DistroKid, whether it's TuneCore, whether it's AWOL. So do you think this new TikTok distribution, SoundOn, you think that's the end of all those other independent online distributors?
Well, they all have different payment models.
TikTok is
So
free.
SoundOn offers 100% of royalties the first year, and after that they offer 90%. But are they distributing to all of them or just
Yes.
TikTok?
All of them. Spotify, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, what a good deal, right?
Yeah, it's free.
TikTok's 100%. So you get 100% of royalties.
Yep.
Global distribution. You know what's interesting here is when I get on this website, they don't actually say that they're going to put it on Spotify.
It is. You actually check out all the stores. You get it on Spotify, Apple Music, and everything. It's global distribution.
What stores can I distribute to?
Every store.
TikTok and Resso, including Apple Music, Deezer, Jukes, Pandora, and Spotify. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you get 100% of your royalties. That's pretty dope. And then 90% afterwards. So you are giving up 10% after, which might not work for some people, right? You still have your DistroKid is a subscription basis. So you're paying what, $10 per year per song, right, or something.
But TikTok, but to me, this has become a major threat because TikTok has a captive audience. They're going to have like their own kind of playlists. And I don't know, I think it's going to truly disrupt the distribution world as far as when it comes to TuneCore, DistroKid, Ditto Music, those types of things.
Yeah, it might. I know Symphony, for example, is one of the medium-sized distributed players out there, and they just picked up $37 million in funding about 2 weeks ago. So there's still a big market out there. DistroKid is pulling billions. So they've got a $1 billion plus valuation.
Now, Jason, you seem to be like a very, you're a coder. You understand this stuff. The TikTok algorithm. You understand that do you understand like these corporate algorithms on these kind of sites? All right, here's what I'm asking. It seems like on TikTok, it seems like they have an algorithm that kind of hooks you in. Like you post like a couple of videos, and then one does extremely well.
Yes. The consumption rate is so high that I think they can quite easily distribute it and get that engagement that people want. Sometimes you might want to question whether the numbers are real in some sense. I know Facebook got in a lot of trouble for inflating their video numbers, right? Auto playing videos as you scroll through. But on TikTok, I don't use it myself, but I've definitely watched people using it. And obviously I've got a business that is heavily involved in it. Swipe, 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 swipe. Right. People probably consume something like 100 videos within 20 minutes. So they can distribute all of that, and they can give people that little dopamine rush that they want by knowing that their video was viewed 1,000 times or 500 times or 1,000,000 times. And their algorithm is arguably one of the most successful social media algorithms out there. I have read through multiple discussions about it. Obviously, no one knows exactly.
What is it? Now, what's their algorithm that made it different from other ones?
So while no one knows what it is, my understanding is that one of the primary differences here is that they do a pretty good job at introducing outside content. So what will happen on a platform like Instagram is that once they start to collect your signals, and definitely Spotify, they go too far down that rabbit hole. So for example, Spotify, the one I can think of is when my grandmother comes over for dinner. She's 92, bless her soul. I like to put on some Aretha Franklin or Ella Fitzgerald or Louis Armstrong. I like to play some good oldies for her and just set the mood. Spotify has decided that is it. That is my go-to. Everything I look at is centered around that. And so they've gone a little too far down that rabbit hole. And I've heard similar things about Facebook and Instagram. And so I think what TikTok's done really well is that they learn from your interaction, but they continue to introduce outside content. And because you're so quickly zapping through it, you're probably not too phased if occasionally, 1 out of every 10 videos, they try something from the left field. And I think they've done a pretty good job of feeding you with an endless amount of interesting content. Zoop, zoop, zoop.
You're right.
I don't know if that's good for music discovery, though. I don't know.
Well, yeah, TikTok, obviously. I did a podcast earlier, and someone said to me, TikTok is music. Without TikTok, there would be no music. Now, I don't know if that's a really good statement, because I don't think like the music industry just should depend on one platform to sell a product.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like TikTok has actually, to me, people listen to music differently right now, right? I mean, they separated the song and the artist, but I think, yeah, I mean, I spent some time on TikTok. I just find it very interesting that if an artist or someone posts 10 videos on TikTok, it figures out a way of how to reward them of like, wow, one did exceptionally well, keep on posting. What you're telling me is that's kind of mindful. Those algorithms are built for that type of stuff, right?
I think so.
Yeah. It's like casino. It's like a payout. Casinos want you to be there, right? It's kind of like
sometimes people compare SubmitHub to a casino.
But I don't think so, because in SubmitHub, they're independent, creative.
Yeah, but from the artist perspective, when you it is almost like pulling the slot machine, right? You send it off to 20 people and hope that a number of them like and share it. I get the comparison that people draw. It's almost a bit more like sports betting on horses, which I mentioned earlier, where you can make informed decisions and improve your odds by doing the research beforehand. But in some ways, SubmitHub is a little bit like gambling for many artists, because the odds are stacked against you, but you are hoping for a breakthrough. So, and it happens. Some artists do get it, right? But as I've mentioned countless times, the artists who do see success on SubmitHub are not blowing up overnight, and they're not becoming massive celebrities. They're just leveraging the tool to keep that consistent buzz growing and get that snowball bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
I get it. All right. Well, Jason, so lastly, I just want to, you originally worked at Google, and well, you worked at Google, and they really liked the fact that you were a blogger running Indie Shuffle. And this was prior from you working at another job that actually they did not really embrace the fact that you were a blogger. But you went to Google, hey, you run Indie Shuffle, you're cool, you know, you're a music nerd, you love music. It actually helped you get the job. But you left Google to focus on your blog full time. By the way, that happened to me. You know what happened is I was actually a pharmaceutical rep. I was a legalized drug dealer.
Nice.
And I started a blog. And my blog was my introduction to the music business. So where you were working at Google, I was working at Pharma Industries. Nice little parallel there. But then you were offered a monthly kind of salary through Spin Mag that they were going to pay you like you're like, you saw that.
I see it.
You're like, oh man,
behind you.
Yeah. So basically
$50,000 a month.
$50,000 a month. There,
15,
and then
1.5.
Oh, 150.
Still a lot of money. That's $180,000 a year to run a music blog.
I take it, and they kind of like, so basically Spin Mag Media offered Jason $150,000 a month, and
15.
150.
No, you said 150. I'm saying it's 15. 15,000.
Oh, 15,000.
180,000 a year.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Still great money.
Right. They offered him $180,000 a year, $15,000 a month. Okay.
Yep. And they did that with all the big music blogs. They offered it to Hype Machine, Stereo Gum, Gorilla versus Bear, the Music Ninja. Basically, everyone who was kind of buzzing at that time got this offer, and we all signed it.
And it all fell through.
It all fell through. It was guaranteed, 100% guarantee you will get paid $15,000 a month. And after a year of not paying, they went bankrupt. And they somehow blew through something along the lines of $30 million. In 1 year, the company blew through it, and the CFO just walked away with a nice pay package.
You know what? I was part of like
the heck out of them.
Yeah, I was part of, like, back in the day, I was part of more of these advertising conglomerates where they had, like, you know, you signed in, you had a bunch of sites. But, well, all right, Jason, listen, I think we covered. By the way, did I miss anything? Is there something that you wanted to discuss? I mean, that I missed? I mean, I think I praised SubmitHub. I think if anyone's listening to this, if they're an artist, they know they need to be on there. And by the way, and I'm saying this, listen, Jason is not paying me to say this. This is me.
No, I'm a bit more humble and reserved about it. I don't know. Go into it with a level head. Hopefully this conversation helps inform artists about the ups and downs of SubmitHub. Dean's praised many ups, but I tend to be a bit more realistic about it. It's difficult. As an artist, it's difficult. And at SubmitHub, we're trying to make that connection easier, but we're not perfect every time either.
But Jason, here's the thing, Jason. Here's the thing. You are on the business of just creating opportunity, and you've done that. And I'm giving you proof of concept with that. You can't make everyone happy. You're not in the happy business.
No, but as long as you tell people up front that they might not be happy, then well, I think the danger here, and I see, so we've got a big competitor, Groover. I don't know if you've bumped into them, but they just picked up
Yeah.
$7 million in funding. Perhaps you're on there taking submissions. I don't know.
I'm not actually, no.
One of the mistakes I see them making that might work, but it's a route I haven't done, is that they, in a way, overpromise and upsell the positives. So, our artists have seen way more success. If you spend a lot more money, the more money you spend, the more success you'll have. Phrases like that, trying to coax people into spending more. I am wary to do that just because it's setting false expectations. So you are right that you can't make everyone happy, but I think as long as you let people know up front that this isn't a place to come and buy guaranteed success, I think that strategy has over the last 6 years helped us a lot. But I mean, on a day-to-day basis, we are still a big part of our job is helping artists who had missed expectations about the potential upsides of SubmitHub.
Well, okay. I mean, and there's one request. I wish you actually have the most popular artist on SubmitHub of the week, right? Okay. I would love, because one of the things I do on my blog and my site is I'm an artist site, but I'm also kind of like I touch on industry stuff. I wish that you could put together like a widget or something like an infographic of like those popular artists. Anyway, so I could even post that. So
wouldn't be too hard, but I would have loved for the popular chart to take off in some way and be as influential as Hype Machine once was with A&R.
Well, it's just getting, that's just getting people to talk about that. Like Rolling Stone, I emailed you a while ago and I said, hey, Jason, can you like create, like, I want like my own chart. Like, Rolling Stone created their own chart, right? Their own kind of music charts.
Okay.
And, their own metrics for like who are the most popular artists, who is the most selling. But yeah, I think I think you could actually, if you were to grow, like if you were to focus more on that popular SubmitHub chart and somehow gain attention to that, I think that would actually bring a lot of value. But lastly, South Africa. What part of South Africa are you from?
I'm in Cape Town.
Cape Town. Oof.
Down at the bottom.
And
it's nice.
It's nice. Well, you know what? I kiteboard, and I know Cape Town is a popular destination for kiteboard. You know kiteboarding?
Yeah. I've definitely seen some kiteboarders down here.
Yeah, Cape Town's a very popular destination. So I never made it to South Africa, but I like to get down there. It's beautiful. So
it's beautiful. Cost of living is great as well, especially compared to the States.
Yeah.
But
well,
I'll be back in the States soon.
Right now, are you going to visit, or you plan to relocate?
No, I'm for now I'm here.
Okay.
I've got my kids at school here, but my parents and my brother are in California, so
great.
I gotta get there.
Yeah, you do.
So
you do.
We're gonna come out for a month and a half, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Well, listen, feel better. So you're
another week.
Okay. So has this been hard for you to work with this concussion?
I haven't been working. This is the most I've done in a week.
Okay.
Wow. It's weird. When I try to think, it's been frustrating for my team as well, because they come to me asking questions, and Dylan in particular is, he's a lot more involved in the strategy and the growth of SubmitHub, and I'm just here going,
yeah.
Huh? So it's frustrating, but next week.
And are you adding more genres to your platform? Are you going to continue to adding more genres?
We add genres as people request them.
Got it. Okay.
So if you feel like some genres are missing, or anyone listening feels that genres are missing, then you can either email me at jason@submithub.com or open a support ticket and suggest a genre. And I would say about 80% of suggestions end up getting added. But there are occasionally crazy suggestions where we just kind of,
Yeah.
you
Where?
could slice it so many ways, right? You've gone to everynoise.com, which is I don't know if you've been to that. Everynoise.com.
Okay.
It's every genre.
Oh, so
It's an incredible website. Actually, it is incredible.
will we run out of genres eventually?
I highly recommend going to everynoise.com. It's got every genre in the world. And what's amazing is that it's all sort of connected in this web, so you can see how they're all interlinked. And then when you click on a dot, it will show you like New Zealand 80s punk.
Wow.
And then they'll play you a 10-second clip.
I'm going to check that out every
High
night.
funk. Boom. 10-second clip. It's
amazing.
incredible.
That's amazing. Well,
yeah.
Well, thanks. Listen, Jason, it was great talking to you. I know we went back and forth in email and on your platform, but like I said, thanks for creating it. Made my job easier, helped artists out, and I'm looking forward to seeing this thing grow. And maybe when you're out in the States, we'll meet up.
Cool. My pleasure.
Thanks, Jason. Have a good day. Feel better.
Thank you, Dean. You too.
Bye-bye.